Hey guys, it's Armelon2000 here, and today I'm going to be looking at 7 Days to Die. It is a zombie survival kind of game. It's been done to pieces on PC, but on PS4, the genre, at least in my point of view, is fairly new. But this game has been on PC for years now, and it's finally been ported to PS4, and yeah, I'm going to be looking at it. As a side note, I do like the options that you can have at the start before loading your game, the choices of length of day, the type of world you want. You can even have a pre-made world that the developers have made if you don't want to go to the risk of randomness. So I like that in the game. But that's not important. What is important is the game itself. So you've made your world, you've loaded in, and the first thing you see is the graphics, which is an immediate turn-off for me because, as you can see, there's not much detail in the world, and the view distance is definitely much to be desired. But hey, graphics don't make a good game, so you've gone in, you've got your first mission is to craft a stone axe. The game does a much better job than most other survival games that tend to just plunge you into the world and expect you to understand the concept of the game from the get-go, whereas this game gives you a beginner's quest to at least get to understand the concept of the game and what you need to do early on. But what isn't easy to grasp when you first play the game is the crafting interface, which isn't very user-friendly and is fairly complicated because of it's not been changed from the PC version, whereas games like Minecraft, for example, have gone for a console design for their crafting interface, making it simple for when people get into the game and at least know the crafting recipes. So the crafting in this game, while extensive, is very complicated to get around, and there is definitely a learning curve for the game in that extent. What I do like about the crafting though is the extensive amount of items that can be crafted in the game, things like clothing, weapons, other forms of equipment, that will eventually help you in the future, provided for the bigger things you have the blueprints for so you can create them. Another thing that this game incorporates, which I don't see in many zombie survival games, is skills. Things like perks, you can get skill trees, and eventually you can get a much more powerful character than you did at the beginning. You'll get better loot from searching things, better skills with bow and arrows, firearms, you can build things faster. It just makes the experience much better down the line of the game, and you truly feel like you're progressing while you're playing the game, which in my view is great. But what is the objective of 7 Days to Die? Well, the objective is to obviously gain supplies, equipment, have a shelter. You can either find a shelter or create your own. There's towns, capital cities in every world, which I find good as is an objective to get to. Usually the best loot is there. And you have to eat, drink and survive, the usual thing in a survival game. But it feels like because there's cities and stuff, you can actually maybe, instead of just building it like you would in other survival games, you can already work with a building you've already found, which I prefer because sometimes you can't be asked to build your own building, or you don't have the imagination to create something wonderful like some other creators in games. So, because this is a zombie survival game, you're going to meet a lot of zombies, and therefore combat will be quite a large part of your game time. Unfortunately, combat feels quite bad in this game, as early on, you're not found with many good weapons. You usually have a wooden club, or at best in the early game, a barbed wooden club, or an iron reinforced club, but that still doesn't make your combat fun because it takes ages to kill a zombie, especially these ones which are bloaters, which you find quite a lot, and as you can see they take many hits. The combat looks dull, boring and personally a bit underdeveloped. Once you get a firearm, for example, the game does become more enjoyable, but that still needs some work. I mean, using a bow, guns, they don't feel as solid or as good as, say, an actual shooter game, but that's to be expected in a survival game, and that can be developed in the future provided they keep developing the console version of the game. And this is what I worry about with 7 Days to Die. I'm worried that the game will just be left in the dust and the PC version will be continued to get updated while the console version is left to burn. Because while there's been 2 updates, slightly fixing the performance issues, it still hasn't been resolved and the view distance hasn't been looked to. Because even when you're playing in split screen, the view distance can be even worse. It can be even half the view distance you're seeing now. Whereas on PC, the view distance is far greater and the frame drops are far less often. So I just hope that they continue updating the game, then the game will be warranted of its £30 price tag on consoles, which I'm very much against considering on PC the game only costs £18 and is a far superior version. After all you're hearing, you must expect that I hate the game and you feel I must be embarrassed to have paid £30 for a game like this. But I don't exactly hate the game. I enjoy the concept. I enjoy certain aspects of the game, like the skill trees I mentioned before. But I know, even though I've enjoy what the game's concept is, I know it's in desperate need of updates, patches and fixes. I mean, what you're seeing on the left there shows that the game is unfinished and in need of updates to add more immersion to the game, make the game feel more complete, and especially fix these frame rate and view distances. But if you're into the survival style of games, and this what you're seeing now seems to be your kind of thing, then by all means go for it. So this has been Armadon 2000 here with his review of 7 Days to Die. I hope you have enjoyed this review. Share your opinions down below the game, and I will see you next time.